Hello, welcome to the Kniterary. I'm Katie, and today we'll be doing my March podcast. Thank you to everybody who watched last month's video. I had amazing comments. Thank you for all the recommendations on vest and slipover patterns for that brown yarn that I was looking for a new pattern, and then also all the comments on the projects that I'm picking up for my friend's grandma. Thanks for all the advice and thoughts. They're super helpful, but just in general, it's just so fun to be a part of this community. And so thank you all for the positive feedback and advice. I'll definitely be putting more photos in today of some of the patterns that I'm talking about. So thank you. With that, let's get into what I'm wearing. Today I am wearing the Farnham sweater by the Knit Purl girl. This was, I think, the first pattern I knit that was not Petite knit. Petite knit really got me into knitting and excited about knitting, and it's one of the reasons why I still love her to this day, is because it got me into knitting. But then I was like, okay, I need to try something that's not Petite knit, and this was a great first project for that. The pattern is really well, it describes everything really well. It must have been my first stripe pattern as well, because I did not do the carry on these, and so you can see the line down where you switch the yarns instead of like picking up that stitch on the first row. So I do think it's my first striped pattern, but overall I really do like this object. I actually really like it as a spring sweater. I'll wear it with shorts, and I really like that look because it's just loose, easy to throw on, but I am in Michigan in the US, and so it's cold through the springs here, so it's kind of perfect for that in between. The color and yarn that I used for this was Knitting for Olive Merino, held with soft silk mohair, and the white color is the putty, and then this is actually the Dusty Sea Green. I know it looks very gray next to this, but I don't know how well you can see the color on this camera, but it looks very gray. People are always like, oh yeah, the gray striped sweater you have, but it is the green. I bought this putty yarn to actually make the champagne cardigan, and I got it, and I was like, this is not what I wanted. It was just like way too cool of a white for what I wanted in my champagne cardigan. And this was the first time that I didn't use yarn for a pattern that I purchased the yarn for. And I'm so glad I made that decision, because I love my champagne cardigan and I like what I knitted in. And I would not have been happy with this color in that pattern. So ultimately, I think that's also what got me to step out from my Petite knit patterns. It was yarn I already had. I didn't have to purchase yarn for this pattern, and so that is what I'm wearing. Finished objects this month. First, I have my Paula cardigan. I talked pretty in depth about this in my last episode, as it was a work in progress, but I'm happy to say I finished it. I thought this was going to be a more mindless knit than it was. I really love the finished object. I'll make sure to put some photos of me wearing it in there. But it was not as mindless as I hoped. One, the saddle shoulder construction, you just have to break the yarn a lot, and you have to knit here, you keep picking up stitches, and so until I got to the body, and really the body and the round and then the sleeves, it just was a lot more thinking than I thought it would be, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just when I cast this on, I thought I was casting on a stockinette easy cardigan, and that's not what it was. I love this collar detail with the 2x2 rib that then goes into the double knit button band. I talked about last time how when I picked up the stitches here, the pattern tells you to weave a contrast color yarn throughout the stitches, and I was saying how I thought it was just so that when you fold it back, you knew where to go, and I didn't do that, and I did not have any problems not doing that. So if you've done folded collar bands, I don't think it's an issue. I don't think you need to do that, but it probably would be helpful if you don't know where to fold it back to. Especially my yarn is like just slightly variegated, and so I do imagine that it would, like, if I had never done that before, it might be difficult to see exactly what stitch I was supposed to be going in. This is knit in Filcolana Pernilla, and Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color dark cognac. I'll have to put the number of the Pernilla on the screen. The The only other, I didn't make any modifications on this pattern except for I cut the ribbing a little bit. It's supposed to have like 5 inches, I think, of ribbing, and I did a little bit less than that. I just lengthened the body. And then it was my first time. All the double knit button bands I've done all together. So you pick up all the stitches all the way around, and then you do it all the way around. And so then the way that you connect it to the button band to the stitches that you picked up has always been a knit 2 together through the back loop. This one you do it a little backwards because you don't go all the way around because of this collar. And on one side, I didn't read the instructions correctly. Totally my fault. The pattern was correct. And I don't know if you can see right along the edge of the button band at the top, I was not doing it correctly how you joined, because you joined with a purl stitch, not a knit stitch, because you went from the top down, which is the backwards way that I've ever done a double knit button band. And I got pretty far down, and then I realized I was doing it wrong, and I did switch, but you can kind of see that line there. And I almost took it all out, but I was like, honestly, I don't think anybody is going to notice this. And I did not have the mental capacity at the time to take it out. So I was like, I'm just going to leave this be. And if it bothers me and I don't wear it later, then I will take it out and redo it. So far, hasn't been an issue, but I've only worn it once. So we'll see. And then the last thing that I'll mention on this is the buttons. This is really just to say RIP to Joann's. I went to my local yarn store to buy buttons for this, and it's just hard for local yarn stores, I think, to have a wide selection of buttons, just to have so much stock. And so I went there, and they just really didn't have anything that was going to work for this cardigan. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to go to Joann's, my last time going to Joann's. And honestly, almost all the buttons were gone. And so I could not find buttons for this. And it was just sad because I was like, where am I going to find buttons in the future? Like, I go to the local yarn store first, but I know that they don't have as wide of a selection, and I had this backup, and now I don't. So that was really sad. I ended up taking these buttons off of my Eva cardigan. And I think I partially didn't wear the Eva cardigan that much because I just didn't love the combo with these buttons. And it ended up working out really well. And then I went to my grandma's house last week and was telling her this whole saga, and she's like, you should just come shop here. So we went through all her buttons, and I think I found some new buttons to put on my Eva cardigan. So I think in the end I have buttons for everything, but in the future I might not. So if anybody does have any recommendations of places to buy buttons online or elsewhere, please let me know. But I probably will start trying to like go antique shopping and thrifting for buttons, as I know it will be a little bit harder in the future for me to find buttons for projects. So that is the Paula cardigan by Moreca Knit. Yes, I do recommend it as far as the finished object, but I'll reiterate, it was not a mindless knit. And there were tons of ends to weave in with that saddle shoulder construction. So at the end, it did take a long time to weave all those in. Then I felt a little bit crazy. This was not a whip in my last episode because I cast it on 1 week ago and just frantically knit it up because I was very excited about it, and I really did want a mindless knit. And so I did get that because I decided to make another Monday sweater by Petite Knit in this bright red color. Last week when I went to find buttons for that cardigan, I was at the local yarn shop and they were having their anniversary sale, and this red yarn just stuck out to me, and I was like, okay, everyone's knitting red things right now. I am going to join in, and I've been wanting to make another Monday, and so I decided to do so. This is knit in Sunday by Sandnes Garn and Tynn Silk Mohair in the color 4018. I believe it's called Scarlet Red. And I absolutely just love the color, and I think it's going to be so fun for spring to have this bright red sweater. I'm not normally a red person, and so I keep being like, no, I'm not going to cast on something red. And finally I gave in, and I'm so happy that I did. I mean, we'll see how much wear I get out of it, and hopefully it's enough to like justify it, but I think it will. So we'll see. I did make a few modifications to it. This is my second Monday sweater. The first one I knit in some cashmere, and I do love it, and it's in a gray. But because I have worked this pattern before, I felt confident making a few changes. Normally I do things kind of by the book, by the pattern, because I'm always like, oh yeah, well the designer did it this way, they probably did it for a reason, it probably makes sense. And so, but I was like, I've already knit this one before, I could make a couple changes. So, a few things that I did. One, I added 2 rows on either side of the fold of the neckband. On my other one, this one stretches out a lot, and I really do think I need to just add elastic into it. But I thought it might help to have it a little bit thicker, and because it stretches out so much, it looks thinner. And so I added 2 extra rows there on each side. And then probably the biggest change that I made, which really isn't a big deal. All of these are like not that big of changes, but is that I did 5 stitches for the raglan instead of 3. And so I just took 2 stitches from inside the fronts and inside the backs, because ultimately you put these raglan stitches on the body once you split. And so it's just a little bit thicker of a raglan. I love a nice thick raglan. And so I really like the look of this. If I were to make another one of these, I don't know if I would do the 3 or the 5. I'll probably try to wear this one a couple times. I'll probably try to wear my gray one a couple times to kind of feel and see what one I like a little bit better. And just to decide that. This does make me want just like a stack of Mondays. You know, I think a lot of people like just a basic sweater pattern, or a basic sweater fit. And so, you know, when someone finds their favorite sweater, if that's from like J. Crew or Old Navy, and they'll get multiple in the same color, I feel like for me, that will be the Monday sweater. So I do already have a gray one, but I think from here on out, if I ever knit this pattern again, I am just going to do a fun color. And so that I have a few just, you know, basic fun color sweaters. And then if ultimately I don't like the color that much, I didn't spend too much time on a really textured knit, and then not wear it because of the color choice. So I think this will be a good experiment for coloring, for colors. Kind of weird way to say that. The other modification that I made, I did shorten the ribbing here, because I knew I wanted to shorten the ribbing on the sleeve. And I also changed the decrease rate. So I just had it decrease slower. I swapped, like you're supposed to do, you know, every X round this many times, and I just swapped those 2 numbers. But then I ended up adding a few extra decreases because I needed the length, and I didn't decrease as many stitches as it said to decrease. So the Monday sweater usually has about 4, I think a little over 4 inches is what it says in the pattern for ribbing, but I only did this much, which is about 2 inches, maybe just shy. So those are my big modifications. And then I knit this in the small, and I wanted to go a size up from my last Monday sweater. And so I was like, I think I knit the extra small in it, but I was looking back and I actually wrote down nowhere what size I knit, which is a personal problem. And so I actually don't know if this is the same size or a different size, and I used a different yarn. So like with blocking, I don't even know if I'll really be able to tell, and I made a few modifications. So I am gonna lay it on top of the other one and just kind of see if I think this one is a different size. But yeah, I have no idea if I knit the same size or a different size. But so excited to wear this one. It just came off the blocking mat to make its debut in this video. So I'll get a photo of myself wearing it. Probably already went on the screen, to be honest with you. All right, now into the whips. So the last month I had a good amount of travel, and so I worked a lot on my Amelié tee. This is a pattern by Petite Knit, and I talked about this a little bit in my last episode. This is my travel project, so when I fly, this is what I bring. It is so amazing to have a fingering weight project to bring, because it's just lightweight. And I also love knitting a fingering weight wool in the round. I just find it actually so satisfying. I know it takes a long time, but it's just such a nice feel of knitting it. So this is 3mm needles. It is Knitting for Olive Merino in wheat and Sunday by Sandnes Garn in the Matcha color. And I'm probably only 1 stripe set from the bottom, and then there's like a few extra rows at the bottom, and then I'll have to do the sleeves and the neck. So I do think that this will probably only go on 1 more trip with me, and then I'll do like the last details at home, depending there's a chance I might actually take it on another trip to do the sleeves. It depends on how much I get done on my next trip. You never know, you know? I was very upset at myself. This is like, just, I thought it was going to take so much longer than it did. This is actually flown. And so I brought this to California on a personal trip, and I didn't think I would get done with the raglan increases. And so I didn't bring any purl strings to hold my stitches on. So I did have to revert back to yarn. And I know people do this all the time and it's not an issue, but I was very sad that I had to hold my stitches on yarn. And when I go back, and it's fingering weight, so it's like so many stitches on the sleeve. And so when I'm going to have to put these back on, I don't look forward to that. It's going to take like 1 minute, and I shouldn't like be upset over it, but I was like, this is not even something to be upset about, because I should just be excited about how far I am. So anyways, kind of just a funny little detail, but I am loving this. Cannot wait to get to wear it. It's nice because I'm knitting this before season, so it's still going to be a little while before I can wear this. It was snowing here a couple minutes ago, and so I don't know if it still is, or if you could see that earlier, but anyways, very happy with my progress on this one. And we'll see. I would imagine this is still a whip next month, but you never know. All right, next I have my vest Taipei by Mochi Knits. I'll throw a picture of the pattern on the screen as well, but I'll try and hold this so you can see my progress. I just have been working on the back yoke a little bit, and I started this before the Monday sweater and just completely set it aside to work on that. And so haven't made much progress on this recently, but got to the point where I've done all my increases, and now I just need to knit the back yoke, and then I think I do some underarm increases before I move on. This is in the yarn, the Katia Concept Cotton Cashmere, and I did see a couple people on Ravelry use this yarn, and I really liked their finished object, but I am fearing that mine is a little bit looser, or like holier. I gauge swatched and I hit gauge, but it just seems lighter weight than the photos I saw of people knitting it in this yarn. This is not the recommended yarn. I really like how she wears it as a tank, and so I'm hoping that in the end I can wear it with a tank and it's not like too lightweight to do that. When I blocked it, it did fill out just a little bit, and so I think it will be fine, but otherwise, if not, I am gonna like continue knitting it, and we'll see, because if not, I could always just wear this with something under it, like whether that be a collared shirt or a t-shirt. And so I feel like there's so many ways to style this that even if I can't do the tank style because of this yarn, I'll still get enough wear out of it. And the other thing I'm worried about, and I could solve, but we'll see if I do, is I have really loose purl stitches. I know everybody's purl stitches are bigger. I think mine is like pretty drastic. And so this edge stitch here is a little bit bigger, and you can see that on each side when you switched from the knit to the purl. And I am worried when I get in the round that I might not have that, and that you're gonna be able to see the line of where it was knit flat and then knit in the round. Obviously the solution is just to knit it flat and then seam it, but yeah. I think what I'm going to do is get it in the round and knit a couple rows, and if it's looking too obvious, take it out and knit it flat, because I don't know if it's more of an issue of just going from a knit to a purl stitch, in which case I'll still be doing that in the round, or if it is the going back and forth that every other stitch I'm like on the purl side and it's causing that. So we'll see. I'm a little concerned about that. And normally when I knit flat, I always put a smaller needle on my purl side, but when I'm doing a textured knit, I don't do that. And so I am always a little bit more concerned about what it's going to look like when I switch to in the round. So there we are. I actually have a lot of whips right now because I don't know why, actually. because I'm a knitter and that's what we do. This one I'm just bringing up. I brought this up in my first podcast episode and it didn't show last month, which I prefaced it won't be in every video. This is my Diana sheep sweater, knit and knitting for olive, pomegranate, and then the cream. And I'm bringing this in because the last time I showed it, I only had 3 sheep, and I'm almost done with that 4th sheep. And once I get done with the 4th sheep, I will be splitting it for the front and the back. And I am at the point where I am highly regretting not rewriting the pattern so I could have knit it top down, as I just really am not looking forward to knitting color work flat. And also, I'm just like, if it goes wrong, I'm just worried about that. Like where if I had knit the top first and then added in the round, I would have been confident about the second part knitting in the round. So all this to say, I'm showing this because I'm hoping that I do finish this and split it soon. This is my background project that I'm just working on slowly over time. And so it can, just sit a little bit too long. I don't want it to sit too long. So this is my accountability check for trying to split this. I am going to put in a lifeline, and so that if something does go awry, I can pull it back pretty easily and start from this point again, but we shall see. I'm super excited for this one. It's been really fun to make. I get really addicted to color work when I do pick it up, because it's just so fun to see the progress every row. I am just doing stranded color work, which probably isn't highly recommended, but I actually think it's going to be fine. So there's the progress on that. Hopefully next time you get to see it split. Maybe not next time. My last whip is the Braidy loop sweater by Other Loops, and I've teased this one like 4 times, so I think you knew this one was coming. This is my progress so far. It is a saddle shoulder construction, but it actually more sits on the back. It's super interesting and I'm absolutely loving it. I've done one side and I'm about halfway on the other side here of the, I guess not halfway, but a good amount on that side. And so I'm very excited. I am loving the colors here. This is my Sunday, the Petite Knit colorway green tea, and then the Isager Mohair in the color 57. I actually brought that up too. So I showed both of these last time. I did accidentally swatched on the wrong needles, but I just love this color combination and I think it's going to be so fun. So I don't really have a lot to say about this one yet because I'm only this far. But so far it's been great. I love the cable here, and that's really all I can say because I've done this much. The only thing I'm concerned about, this is not the pattern, it's that this color is very different but a little bit similar to the color I knit the Colette pullover by Sorry Nordland, and I'll put a picture of me wearing that in here so you can see. And the only thing is just that they're both like very springy green textured knits, and I am like, are these a little too similar? Now I think that it'll be fine because the Colette pullover is a little bit fitted on the size I knit, and it's knit in fennel seed by Knitting for Olive, a cult following color in the knitting community. And so it is very different, but I'm just like, the two things I have in a yellowy green are now a little bit similar. One thing I have loved in this pattern, I guess I do have a lot to say, is that there are 2 different samples shown in the photos of the pattern, and the designer put in the positive ease on both of them, and they're different sizes. And that was super helpful in like looking at how this fit with a different amount of positive ease. So I did decide to knit the size 2 because I liked how much positive ease was in one of the sample sizes that they knit. So obviously you can always look on Ravelry, and sometimes people put their positive ease. You can always look on Instagram and see people's examples, and you can see if you like a bigger fit or a smaller fit. But it was just so helpful that in the pattern there were 2 samples and it actually said the amount of positive ease on that person. So very impressed with the pattern already, and this is my second other loops pattern, and I really love their designs and their patterns. So finally, I'll give an update on the projects that I'm working on for my friend's grandma. I did not make any progress on the blue ordeal, so I did look in the pattern and it says how many stitches on the front and the back, and that front panel piece, I could have got these out, but I didn't. The front panel piece is one size and the back panel piece is not that size. So I don't know what was going on there, but I am thinking that if I want to finish that garment, I'm going to have to knit a whole back panel. And if this is completely irrelevant, like just skip forward. If you don't know what I'm talking about, totally fine. So I just need to like put a little bit more time into looking into what the situation is there. But both the sleeves are done and the front panel, and so I think it would really just be knitting the back if I wanted to finish that one, and then a neck. So I did start seaming up. There's a hat that goes with it, and I started seaming that up, but I didn't finish it, so I didn't get it out, but we'll see. And then the other one, I just had to seam this sleeve together, and so I did that. And now I'm just gonna block this one for her and then get it back. So a few people asked if I was able to talk to the original knitter, but my friend is kind of doing this as a surprise for her to like get these projects finished, and so I can't talk to her, which makes it a little bit more difficult, but it's a fun little mystery, and it's been a fun little project to just help out a different knitter and be less, you know, frantic and a little bit more mindful in my knitting by taking time to knit and think about knitting and look at these projects. So it's been really fun. But that is all I have to share today. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see future videos. I hope to come back with a couple other videos in between my podcast, but I think about a monthly cadence on the podcast is about right for how much I knit. In the summer, maybe it will be a little bit less, as I just have a little bit less knitting time in the summer, but it's been really fun just to be a part of this community, and thank you all for watching this far.